Hello and welcome to Healing Circle number 5. It is 14:42. That is 2:42 p.m. on the 1st of January 2024. The theme today is symbolism and the archetype of the tyrannical father figure. You could refer to it as tyrant, but actually, because there is an emotional involvement, and having a fatherly figure or a grandfatherly figure, or having several such masculine male representations in your everyday life, in your loved ones, maybe your own fathers, grandfathers, so the fathers of your mother, the father of your father, even the generation before, but also brothers, maybe. And first of all, wishing you a very joyful, compassionate, filled with love and kindness 2024. A joyful new year. And in fact, waking up was better, even though there must have been a lot of movement, as I felt I worked really hard. And having joined within the expanding consciousness of love circle yesterday, maybe there is some so-called backlash in the field. And I wondered why I burst into tears after walking for a couple of hours around a big lake nearby. Met hardly anyone. Not surprising, it was intermittent rain. And of course, many people who celebrate the new year may have used a lot of explosives and may have used a lot of alcohol. And I'm not judging this, it is just that there may be an extra layer in the air, even though I am not near a big city. It is just if one is sensitive and can tune in, you know, it is just the atmosphere. And living on the northern hemisphere, there are more people living here than in the southern hemisphere. Nevertheless, the system is still all around, and I was contemplating that really I'm just trying or understanding what really is a truth, what really did happen, what really is the story, and why are we still in such a state. So what is what we have inherited, and what is it that, despite all our efforts, is still being manifested? And then I don't comment very much on social media, but there was a wise woman round table, and I thank them for sharing their insights. And there was a reply to my comment from somebody called Water. And the sentence was more or less like, yeah, well, they all have the same energy and it's to be avoided, but the energy was just exactly like this tyrannical masculine energy. And I'm sure there are women capable of this too. But this has a male component, and I can see this abstract, the one that is anchored in all our laws, the one that is anchored in our economy, and the one that is anchored in the positions, and yeah, who holds the money, who holds the land, who has the corporations, who has something to say. And how did it happen that such an energy could manifest here? And is this really human? And is this really a so-called shadow? Is this an invasion of another species, or are these whatever it is? Why has it such a might? And why has it such a charge that, with all the healing meditations, with all the positive talking, thinking, and then being in nature, and I wished a few people a happy new year, and one wished it to me. And so, in fact, there was two females who were walking, and they did not look happy. They did reply, and there was one male who was jogging, who did say it himself, and then there were two couples. So we walk on paths where others have walked as well. And this little nature reserve, well, there was a history about it. Supposedly history, because nothing can be proven, and even if it's something written, it's a few hundred years old. Who knows what the truth is? You can feel resonance with it, right? So the fact that some of the drainage canals, channels, were dug out by Russian POW. Yeah, that made me think of one of my grandfathers who was captured in Russia. He did get home, but it made me then think of my uncle and my father who didn't have their dad for most of their childhood, like many others did not either. And then I wondered, well, the same applies to my mom, but that grandpa was not on the East Front. As far as I know, he was with the Dutch, not so far and not so cold. However, I know very little of this history, and this is the thing. Whoever asks us, why are women perceived a threat? And why are so many women that live on their own or that brought up children on their own, why are they always on the poverty part in many cases? Why do they feel, wow, why is there not more support when there is so much money being spent on other things? And anyway, so really, I figured it has to do with Pluto, that is in a Capricorn position still, and the last, yeah, since 2008. And so we had the last financial crisis then, and well, the last big one was the entry of that, which also hit the investments of my dad. So maybe it is also being a different person and being sensitive and having, well, those people in our family line obviously survived all that and witnessed all that. So what is really true? But if it's true that many of us have been isolated, haunted, made to ridicule and should and died. So I cannot answer the question if this is something that is in the weather, that is in the air, this is in places, and then again thinking about the fact everything we touch, all that we drink and we eat and wherever we go, it's all part of this really negative tyrannical archetype. I don't know why I keep getting a male figure. Maybe because of the anatomy of the male, and maybe because of the patriarchal age, maybe because Capricorn, maybe because of how I see the people I am in contact with have suffered, both men and women though. And that has to do also with this generation. Let's call it the post-war generation, meaning their parents lived through tyranny. And I'm not talking about the war, I'm talking about the fact that there is this unfair, one-sided, aggressive survival energy, and the rules that come with this are tyrannical, is the kind of thing, do this or die. So maybe this is what is being played out across the world. Or let's go one step further. The reason it is coming up from deep within the cellular tissue, as personally I did everything to increase my vibration. I did everything that those give and share their advice recommend. But this was a reaction of the body of overwhelm. So either the rays that come on earth that bring more light unravel this, and it's just in the atmosphere, and we're transmuting it through the body. Please remember, everything that shows itself for healing. Or it's in our ancestry. In either way, the body functions as an alchemist, as an alchemizing cauldron vessel that transmutes this. And one of the reasons I'm raising these points is because there was obviously a manifestation in that comment. And there may be people out there that get paid for this. But what I'm trying to say is it is just a reflection that this energy is still amongst mankind. And this is the question: where does this tyrannical energy come from? And I may not be able to answer this, but we're now calling it out. So let's breathe. We are calling back all our energies that got lost, were taken, or are stuck within the tyrannical archetype, the tyrannical masculine or feminine archetype. Feels very macho. So any organization that is using these tactics, any systems, any technology that is sending out vibes of this nature, any person that has been manipulated, paid, abused through pressure, scared into joining to be acting upon this unfair energy. Any minute element that we touch when we breathe, when we drink, when we eat, when we walk, when we buy things, when we use things, when we live in houses or we walk through spaces or we pick up from others, asking for purification now. Okay, it seems something is rising from Earth. It's like a mist. And it is transmuting a darker layer. And this is not darkness in a beneficial sense. This is a cloud-like energy. So we're raising our vibration in being honest with ourselves, in surrendering to the now moment, in accepting our part in transmuting this. Traditionally, you would see Saturn as the representative, but Pluto is the alchemist, the underworld. Okay. Mars is seen as, yeah, Mars I see personally more as an action. I don't see it as the god of war. It seems to do with an old order. Okay. And maybe the people I met going through their second Saturn return, and Saturn is in Pisces. Chiron is also in Aries, and so the wounded I am, the wounded centaur. In that sense, the horse stands for freedom. So this is definitely something to do with the heart. I suppose all of my ancestors lived through this. In fact, things happened in this life too, and in fact, younger family members also. So this has to do with being governed by a non-intelligent, non-emotional or spiritual intelligent group that doesn't really understand the whole picture. And this is the negative side when you have power, when you have might. This is the tyrannical side. So this has to do with the stages of tyranny in every single nation, in every single country, in every single war, in all institutions. This is the overriding of Yeah, and this is attached to money. This is not about sharing. But in fact, it isn't money that feeds this energy. This is taking away life force in restricting others, restricting their movement, restricting their education, not encouraging their talents, but telling them this isn't possible, that isn't possible. So being a non-visionary, and this is probably the lack of empathy, the lack of emotional intelligence, and it is sadly nurtured through the inequality of, can I describe this? Abuse of power, and there are women, of course, too. Nevertheless, the main threat here has a very military feeling, and a lot of false god feeling. How can there be something like this club that says they are close to God? How can that be? How can there be something where only unmarried males supposedly are closer to God? I mean, how can they deny their own mother and father? And how can they, unless obviously they don't have a mother, and maybe it is possible to create life, or was possible to create life before, purely with one's love. Maybe it will be possible in the future. However, it is the energy of tyranny. So, what can we do? How do we find compassion? How do we find love? What is leaving? It is clear this energy will not be able to exist It seems to have something to do with the elixir of life, which is the fluid that flows through us. Okay, these are masks. Energetic masks that hide behind this. Okay, the symbol that comes is a white dove, a white bird of peace. Okay, there is the longing of all of humanity it is really a tiredness of living under restrictions. It is using aggression against others, particularly at a very young age. And the excuse is being poor. So Yes, okay. So, even though it feels uncomfortable, even though it feels strange, even though it is not clear where this is arising from, this is just Earth history of rising up against any form of tyranny. This is the archetype of tyranny. So, the way to clear it is really to breathe deeply into your heart, to feel the energy behind the words somebody says and the action somebody does. Wrap yourself in loving kindness. Hmm. I breathe in my own beingness on all multi-dimensions that I occupy, all that what is my soul, right, my birth, right, my human, heart-based, right, all that I stand for, loving kindness towards myself. I wrap myself in a bubble of loving kindness. I create a healing circle around myself, the room I am in becomes a sphere as I go above and below, left and right, in front and behind, within and without me. I wrap this healing circle all around my home, around my loved ones, around my loved ones everywhere. I'm placing this around the entire property I'm in. Here is the home of peace. Here is the right to loving kindness towards myself and all beings. Here is the home of peace. I am the home for my inner peace. I can only extend and emit my breath, my circle, my heartbeat, my thought and intention of loving kindness around me. No one asks for you to interact with me. Speaking to this tyrannical energy, please respect my path of loving kindness. Either work on yourself, use the emitting energy of loving kindness that has a higher vibration than anything, and absorb it and change your ways, or please leave this realm. So it is. I call upon any body parts, I call upon any cellular tissue, I call upon any DNA, wherever I have experienced tyrannical energy, wherever my beingness memorizes tyrannical energy, whenever I suffered under tyrannical energy, I'm calling back all of my energies back to the righteous owner, and I speak. There is no place for tyrants in my vicinity. There is no space for tyrants in my life. There is no space for tyrants upon this planet. Please go back to the source of origin. Or change your ways. I am not giving any energy to any tyrannical energy arising from Earth now. I am emitting loving kindness, compassion, and peace. May you transmute and alchemize into loving kindness now. And so it is.